now that we understand dominator and dominance relations and also immediate dominance relations, we are actually ready to define what is a natural loop formally. Recall that in the previous module, one of the previous modules, we discussed what is a natural loop informally. Just to remind you, it needs to have a cycle and there needs to be a single entry point. But how do I kind of define this more formally so that I can write an algorithm to detect such natural loops? So a natural loop is made of a header, and I'm going to call the header D. And this header should dominate all nodes in the loop. And this captures the property that this is the only entry point to any of the nodes in the loop, right? So this D, or the header, is supposed to be the entry point of the loop, okay? Then there should be a back edge. It's not enough that, there needs to be some cycle. And so a back edge is an edge that creates a cycle. And what is the definition of a back edge? A back edge is an edge whose destination dominates its source. So not every cycle needs to have a back edge. Natural loops are a special case of cycles. So every natural loop is a cycle, but every cycle is not a natural loop. And so when I talk about natural loops, I need to have a back edge. And what is a back edge once again? An edge whose destination dominates its source. So if the edge is from N to D, then D should dominate N, right? So it's, although N can reach D, it's D that's dominating N. And so, if D dominates N, it basically means that D can also reach N. So that obviously means there's a cycle. But it also means more things. It also means that, this is a back edge and the entry, and N was dominated by D, which means that even, the source of the back edge was dominated by the destination of the back edge. And so an edge whose destination dominates its source, and actually the destination of the back edge should be the same as the header of the loop. In fact, that's how we're going to identify the header of a loop. We're going to identify the back edge, and then we'll look at its destination, and that destination we're going to call the header of the loop. We're going to see examples. And finally, this just identifies a back edge and a header. What are all the nodes in the loops and all the edges in the loops? Well, we define this quantity called the natural loop of a back edge. So we associate a natural loop with a back edge. And so let's say the back edge is from N to D, where D dominates N. Then it is what is the set of nodes that belongs to this loop of natural loop of a back edge? It includes D and all the nodes that can reach N without going through D. All right, so all the nodes that can reach N without going through D. So all the nodes that that can reach N without going through D. And you will notice that this definition also implies that all these nodes are going to be dominated by D, because D dominates N. These nodes can reach N without going through D, and so from that one can infer that all these nodes are also going to be dominated by D. I'm not going to give the full argument, but just the statement, and I'll let you think about that on your own. So here's an example. Let's say this is my control flow graph, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, and let's say there is an edge from B5 to B2. Now, just the way I've drawn the graph, it is very clear that the control is flowing from the top to bottom, and there's only one edge which is flowing the air control from bottom to top. And so, the only cycle in this program is this cycle made up of B2, B3, B4, B5. But cycle is not enough. Not every cycle is a natural loop. So we want to find out whether there is a natural loop in this program or not. And so the first question we're going to ask is, what are the back edges? And so to be able to answer what are the back edges, we need to say, basically to find back edges, we need to find edges where the destination dominates the source. So for that, we need to figure out what is the dominance relation in this particular graph. So you can see that B1 dominates everything else. We can see that B2 dominates B3, B4, and B5. Okay, and B3 dominates B5, B4 dominates B5, and of course every node dominates itself as well. All right, so that's our domination relation. So what are the back edges? You will find that there's only one edge such that the destination dominates the source. and that is this particular edge from B5 to B2. The destination is B2, and that dominates the source, which is B5. And so, indeed, this happens to be a back edge. The edge from B5 to B2 is a back edge because B2 dominates B5. Any path from the start of the program to B5 has to go through B2, right? Because it has to go through B2, whatever path you take. All right. Okay, so there's only one, and if you look at any other edge, right? For example, B2 to B3. B2 dominates B3, but B3 does not dominate B2, and we want the destination to dominate the source, not the other way around. And so this is not a back edge. All right. So similarly, all the other edges. All right. So we could figure out that B5 to B2. Okay, this is an error. So B5 to B2 is a back edge. Now, what is the header of a loop? Recall that the header of a loop is is just basically a node that dominates every other node in the loop. Just the way we have defined the natural loop of a back edge, we're going to find out that the destination of the back edge is going to dominate all the nodes in the in the natural loop of that back edge, just the way we have defined it. And so it's very easy to figure out what's the header. Once we have identified the back edge, the header is just the destination node. So the header is nothing but B2, the destination node of the back edge that we just identified. And so the header is B2. Now the question is, what is the natural loop of B2? And so we want to find, that's going to include B2 and all the nodes that can reach B5 without going through B2. So what are all the nodes that can reach B5 without going through B2? Can B1 reach B5 without going through B2? Not really. I mean, any path that I take from B1 to B5 has to go through B2. I'm not going to consider B2 because B2 is already in the natural loop. It's the header of the natural loop. Can B3 reach B5 without going through B2? The answer is yes. Can B4 reach B5 without going through B2? The answer is yes. Can B5 reach itself without going through B2? The answer is yes. And so the natural loop of B2 is B2 plus all the nodes that can reach B5 without going through B2, and that's going to be B2, B3, B4, and B5. And so that's the natural loop associated with the back edge B5 to B2. So when we say it's a natural loop, or we say it's a natural loop of B5 to B2. Actually, I should say natural loop of B5 to B2. All right. So yes, this is our this is our solution for this particular example. The header is B2, the back edge is B5 to B2. The natural loop of B5 to B2 is B2, B3, B4, B5. All right, and that's the loop. Notice that even informally speaking, this loop satisfies our informal requirements. There is a cycle and there is only one entry point. Nobody is jumping into the middle of the loop, and that entry point is the header of the loop, which is B2. All right, let's look at another slightly more complicated example that potentially has multiple back edges and multiple loops. So what are the back edges? So, once again, the control flow of the program is in this diagram as I've drawn it, is flowing from top to bottom, but there are some cycles. And so, for example, B2 is jumping to itself, B4 is jumping to B3, B5 is jumping to B2. Now, which of these are back edges? All right, and we want to. So if I talk about the domination relation, and say that B1 dominates everything else, B2 dominates everything below it, B3 dominates everything below it, and B4 dominates everything below it, and B5 dominates itself, and every node also dominates itself. All right, so what are the back edges? Well, it's very clear that any edge that's going from a higher numbered node to a lower numbered node is actually a back edge, because a lower number node is dominating, in this particular example, is dominating all the higher number nodes. So B5 to B2 is a back edge, B4 to B3 is a back edge, and in fact B2 to B2 is also a back edge because B2 dominates itself. Alright, so B5 to B2, B4 to B3, and B2 to B2. We have identified that all these three are back edges. Now, what are the headers of the associated loops? It's easy. The header of the first back edge is just B2. A header of the loop associated with the first back edge is just B2, B3, and B2. So we can see that there are two loops here that have the same header. The first and the third loop back edges actually have the same header because they're going back to B2. And how to handle this situation we're going to talk about very soon. Alright, so what is the header of B5 to B2? B2. Header of B4 to B3? B3. Header of B2 to B2? B2. What are the corresponding natural loops? Well, that's also easy. The natural loop of B5 to B2 are B2 plus all the nodes that can reach B5 without going through B2. So if I look at this, B2, so B2, all the nodes that can reach B5. So B3 can reach B5 without going through B2, B4 can reach B5 without going through B2. But B1 cannot reach B5 without going through B2. So it's B2, B3, B4, B5. Now let's look at B4 to B3. So this particular thing, what are all the nodes that can reach B4 without going through B3? Actually, B3 is the immediate dominator of B4 here. And because B3 is the immediate dominator, the only node that can reach B4 without going through B3 is B4. And so the answer is B4. And then we also include the B3 in the natural loop. So it's B3 comma B4. Similarly, what's the natural loop of B2? Well, it's just B2, right? Because there is no node that can reach B2 without going through B2. And so the natural loop is just the header of that package. All right, so in this particular example, we could figure out what are the natural loops, and so these are three different natural loops. All right, and two of them have the same header. The first and the third one have the same header. The second one has a different header, which is B3. All right, so notice that some of the loops are completely contained in the other loop. Now B3 comma B4 is completely contained inside B2, B3, B4, B5. All right. So there are three loops and some are completely contained in the other loop. Similarly, you can say that B2 is completely contained in B2, B3, B4, B5. And so we use the term nested. So some loops are nested within other loops. And this nesting although this example is just showing one level of nesting, this could be recursive. For example, there could be three levels of nesting. So the top level loop, there's a loop that's nested within it, and then there could be a loop that's nested further within it, right? And how am I deciding if something is nested or not? Well, if the natural loop associated with a package is the nodes in that are a subset of the nodes of another natural loop, then we say that the first natural loop is nested within the second natural loop. So here's an interesting fact. If two loops do not have the same header, then there are only two possibilities. All right, and that's coming from the properties of the natural loop as we have defined the natural loop. Either these two natural loops are disjoint, which means that the nodes of one natural loop and the nodes of the other natural loop have nothing in common. In other words, if I take an intersection of these two sets, I'm going to get the empty set. Or one is entirely contained, or in other words, nested within the other. All right. So if I just go back to my example, if I look at these two loops, the second and the third loop, they have different headers, right? One of the second loop has the header B3, the third loop has the header B2. And indeed, the two loops are disjoint. They don't have anything in common. Whereas if I look at the first and the second, they have different headers. The first one has B2 again, and the second one has B3. And one is completely nested within the other, right? So B3 comma B4 is a subset of B2, B3, B4, B5, right? So it's an interesting fact. Once again, I'm not providing a proof, but I'll let you do that on your own if you are interested. But it's an interesting fact that if the headers are different, then one loop is either disjoint from the other loop, or one loop is completely nested within the other loop. And this is a very, very interesting and important property. And so based on this property, we can start defining inner loops. So we can say that this is the innermost loop. What is the innermost loop? These are the loops that contain no other loop, right? So now that we have the notion of something is nested in something, so we can draw these, we can kind of have relationships between different loops, between different natural loops, if they all have those different headers. And then we can say, oh, this loop is nested within this loop. And if we can draw these edges between these two loops, and if there is no, if one of the loops does not have any loop that is nested within it, then we say that is the innermost loop. Okay, so inner loops are the ones that contain no other loop. So for example, in our previous example, B4 to B3 is an inner loop. Similarly, B2 to B2 is an inner loop, but B5 to B2 is not an inner loop because it contains other loops. All right, now, but this particular fact had this precondition which said that the two loops should not have the same header. What if the two loops have the same header? And in fact, our example has two loops which have the same header. And in this case, so let's look at, this is the slide is showing what is nested within what. So these two loops, second and third, are disjoint because they have the same different headers. This loop B4 to B3 comma B4 is nested within B5 B2, and I'm also showing that B2 to B2 is nested within the first one, but I'm going to clarify this. Let me just actually remove this particular line, and let's just retain the this particular relationship. And so if I say B3 comma B4 is nested within B2 B3 B4 B5, but I won't really talk about B2 to B2 because here they don't have the same. They don't have different headers. B2 to B2 does not have a different header from B5 to B2. In fact, they share the same header. So I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. So far, I have only talked about loops, relationships, nesting relationships, and disjointness relationships between loops when the loops have different headers. So for example, the second and the third loop, I can create a relationship because they actually have different headers, and the relationship is that they are disjoint. What are the inner loops? Very clear that B4 to B3 is an inner loop because it doesn't contain any other loop. We're going to look at B2 to B2 also very soon. All right, so what about loops with the same header, right? So here are example structures where there could be loops with the same header. This is a structure we saw in our example. Let's say there are two basic blocks. There's a loop from the second basic, there's a package from the second basic block to the first basic block, but there's also a package from the first basic block to itself. Now here is another example where there are two loops which share the same header. There are, let's say, three basic blocks, and the first basic block goes to the second one, and there are two outgoing edges from the first basic block, and both of them are looping back to the first basic block. So there are actually two back edges in both situations. Both the back edges are associated with natural loops. Okay. First of all, why am I calling them back edges? Because I know that destination dominates source. Right. It's not just about a cycle. I'm actually being able to reason about the domination of the source of that edge by the destination of the edge. So both these examples, the destination dominates the source, and so this is good. Also, in both these examples, the two loops share the same header. All right. So first of all, what is the natural loop of this particular edge here? So let me just say this is B1, B2, and B3. So there are two back edges, B1 to B2, and then there is another back edge B1 to the two back edges B2 to B1 and B3 to B1, and each of them is associated with the loop. So the loop is B1 comma B2. And the loop here is B1 comma B3, natural loop for this particular package. And now I want to say, which one is the inner loop? Now it's not clear at all which one is the inner loop, because now we have a situation where one of the loops is neither disjoint nor contained, right? B1 comma B2 is not disjoint from B1 comma B3. B1 comma B2 is not contained within B1 comma B3. And this situation is happening because they share the same loop header. And so in this case, it is hard to say which is the inner loop because there is no kind of containment or disjointness relationship between the two loops. In the first case, one could argue that, it's the smaller loop that's the inner loop. But even there, the reasoning is slightly flawed because I could always split. Let's say I decided to do some kind of loop, some kind of partial redundancy elimination. And so I basically decided to add some kind of basic block on this back edge. Now, as soon as I do that, then this kind of this structure starts resembling the second structure, and so it's not precise here to say that B1, the loop formed by B1's back edge, is a subset of the loop formed by B2 comma B1's back edge. B2 to B1, right? So the loop formed by B1 to B1 is not a subset of the loop formed by B2 to B1 because some kind of transformation could have added a basic block here, in which case that kind of reasoning would have also failed. It's not so that idea that something is nested within something can only work if the loops had disjoint headers. If they have the same header, then we are having some issues. We are seeing examples where one loop is neither contained in the other loop, right? So let me just write this nicely so there is no confusion. This is B1 comma B2, right? And this is B1 comma B3. So B1 comma B2 is neither disjoint from B1 comma B3, and B1 comma B2 is neither contained within B1 comma B3. And so we have the situation we can't reason about the nesting behavior in these kind of loops. So how do we deal with this? Firstly, it is very important to understand the nesting behavior of the program, because that way we can do more optimizations. It lends greater structure to the program. And so when the two natural loops formed by two different packages share the same header, it's not possible, it's hard to tell which is the inner loop. And so one solution, and this is the typical solution that is employed, is that you just combine them as a single loop. All right, just consider these two different the loops formed by these two different packages, combine them into a single loop. So to see that with our original example, we had three packages, and the first and the third package actually shared the same header. And so I'm suggesting that we're going to combine these two loops into a single loop. So we're going to combine the loops formed by B2 to B2 and B5 to B2 into a single loop, and that loop is going to contain the union of the two natural loops, which is again going to be B2, B3, B4, B5. And now we can say, behave as though there are only two loops, all right? Even though there are three packages, there are only two loops. And now we can talk about nesting behavior. We can say that the loop formed by B3 to B4 is nested within this combined loop, this combination loop. All right, and the reason we are basically combining once again is because it's very hard to have a nesting relationship between the loop formed by B2 to B2 and B5 to B2, because in general, if they share the same header, and the canonical example for that is this example that we saw.